To begin the program, we want to call up certainly one of the men most responsible for creating the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame and indeed this induction dinner. It has been a rousing success the last 2 years. This is the third. We hope it is equally as successful. And the man who largely puts this affair together, the president of the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame, Steve Sheets. Steve?
Thank you, Stan. If I'm that important, though, why wasn't anybody asking for my autograph, or at least a picture taken? Like the others on the dais tonight, I have taken the Billy Kahn oath to keep it short, and I promise I will. This is our third dinner, and for the third consecutive time, we've attracted over 700 people, and I want to thank you for your support. These induction dinners are really the heart of the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame. Even though we continue to look into the possibility of setting up a museum at some point in the future. We're not rushing into things, but we do continue a search, and sometime in the future we hope to get a suitable facility and then begin gathering some memorabilia from the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame. Once again, I want to thank the members of our selection committee who have worked with me over the past year. And also want to thank Joe Reese and his staff here at the Penn State Altoona campus for, once again, providing the facility for us and really helping us to put this dinner together. I also want to thank Mike Herman of North American Communications, who provided a plane and a couple of pilots today to pick up Terry Bradshaw up in the Poconos. And I especially want to thank my secretary, Nikki Barnes, who really does most of the work in putting this dinner together. I'd also like to thank our presenters who took time out of their busy schedules to be with us tonight. And I finally want to thank each of you for your support. And I certainly hope that all of you enjoy yourselves this evening as we welcome the inductees for our third Blair County Sports Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Terry was in the Poconos today. I'm sorry to report, though, he only finished third in the shuffleboard tournament. That's why he was there, but he gave it a great effort. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce our first presenter, and I mean that more than the traditional sense that MCs say at banquets, for this reason. 1 year ago tonight, Bobby Ramazzotti was being inducted in the second class of the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame, but was unable to attend the induction ceremony because he had just undergone open-heart surgery, and so he missed that. We talked to him via tape. But the good news is that, as you can see to my right, Bobby is hale and he is hearty, and most importantly, thank God, he is here. As you know, Bobby was a Major League ball player with the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Chicago Cubs, and aside from what he's done in the past, the most important thing is that he survived the surgery and he is flourishing, and it is great to have him here, even if it is kind of 1 year late. To present Harry Spook Temple, Bob Ramazzotti. Bob?
Well, thank you, folks. It is good to be here. I'll say that. I'd like to thank Mr. Sheets, his committee, and everybody that was responsible for having me inducted last year. I know I had a stand-in. They tell me he did a pretty good job, but he wouldn't accept it for this time, so I'm going to have to do it myself. It's a pleasure to be here, and I feel like most of the other inductees that to be inducted in your own hometown is about as high as you can get around here. It's a wonderful feeling, and I think everybody feels about the same. Tonight, I have to kind of make up some words here for this young fellow I have to introduce. There's about a 10-year gap between us here. About a few things we have in common. He started playing his football in 10th Ward, and I started coaching the Federation in the same ward, so that's one thing we have in common. Another thing is we're both getting old, so I haven't figured out the way to stop that yet. And you all know all about his football, so I'm not going to go into that. There's got a whole biography of him in the book, and plus what was in the newspaper. But I know him partly from baseball. He used to play at Old Lloyd's Park, which was on Broad Avenue and 23rd to 22nd Street, where the Jaffa Mosque is now. Now, the reason I know about that was, well, I was, I guess, about 10, 11 years old, and we had our own team of little fellows like myself, and every once in a while we'd run short of baseball, so we'd string along Broad Avenue and try to get a foul ball, and that's how we managed to keep playing. So it was interesting. There was a lot of good ball players there, and there'd be a lot more coming along. So, and saying about Spook, sometimes you have to watch him. I know I was up the other day where he was working up at the golf club. I was sitting in the cart there with him. We were just talking, and I looked around, and then when I looked back, he was gone. Now, I don't know if that's how he got his name or not. He tells me it's because he can get away from tackles and stuff like that. Anyhow, Spook is a wonderful, wonderful person. A gentleman, for as long as I've known him, which hasn't been too long, but long enough. So I think it's an honor for me and a deep pleasure to present to you this time Mr. Spook Temple.
Thank you. I don't know. It's been a long time since I made a public speech, so maybe I should quit now and go home. Okay? No, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very honored, and Robert, thank you very much. And I'm glad you could make it here this year. I'm reaching in for my notes, not a beer. Oh. Is it okay if I put my glasses on? Members and officers of Blair County Sports Hall of Fame, and ladies and gentlemen, 81 and a half years ago today, my mother and father never told me that I would be standing here in this select group tonight. I don't know why they didn't. If they had, I would have studied public speaking. Then I'd have made a good, good thing out of it. So I don't know. And even 70-odd years ago, when I first started to play ball down in 10th Ward, as he said, I never thought for 1 minute that I'd be standing up here tonight, because we never thought of those things. We were just out to play ball. But history has to catch up to you once in a while. But I hope the bad history doesn't catch up to me. Gee, I want to thank a few people for giving me a lot of things. First, I want to thank my parents for giving me the body to compete successfully in football, baseball, and other sports, and to help provide an opportunity for a college education. And also, my brothers and my sisters for standing by me through the years. Well, I don't know about this guy. So that's about all I have to say. So I'm running out of time, because I tell you what, somebody told me if I spoke over 5 minutes, they'd get the hatchet out for me, and I'd have to get out of here. One more thing, ladies and gentlemen. Forget these people up here who are talking to you out there. If it wasn't for you people out there, we couldn't have this wonderful event we're having tonight. And besides that, you give 2 young people deserving scholarships. Maybe someday you'll give them 4 scholarships instead of 2. And I hope and pray that you all will come here and support this for the rest of your lives. And now I got a bad thing to tell you. If you don't, Spook will come back to haunt you. And don't forget it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Bishop. That's awesome. Thank you. I think if the caterers would have known that our next presenter was a basketball coach for a number of years, Rolaids definitely would have been on the menu. Of all the sports, basketball, it seems to me, probably eats your guts out more than any other sport. Our next presenter was the head basketball coach at Altoona Area High School from 1946 through 1954 and compiled nearly a 70% winning percentage, 125 wins and 57 defeats. He then went on to coach in the Pittsburgh area at Turtle Creek High School and Keystone Oaks High School, and then retired in 1973 and still lives in the suburban Pittsburgh area. Here to present the induction for the late Maurice Babe Pat is Phil Rice. Phil?
Well, I am very glad to be here to present Maurice Babe Pat, inductee to your Sports Hall of Fame. I've had many happy memories here in Altoona. I met many old friends here and a lot of my old ball players. What surprised me is some of them are retired already. It's hard for me to imagine that my own ball players would be retired. And I enjoyed my stay in Altoona very much. And among the friends that we met here when we came, the Pat family were particularly nice to us and helped us to get established here. And I played basketball at Westminster with Lou Pat, Babe's brother, and it was through Lou that I met Babe, and and all his family. See, Babe, that's right. I must confess, I never saw Babe play as an athlete. I know he was a good one, and you have his, I guess, career in that booklet that you have. So I only really knew him as a personal friend. He was a very good friend of mine. I know he did graduate from Carnegie Tech, or Mellon as they call it now, with an architectural degree, which surprised me. I could never imagine Babe as an architect. I know he never practiced his profession. And he, of course, was in the service as a lieutenant in the U.S. Navy in the South Pacific, probably one reason why we were able to win the war. And I'll bet he was a good-looking naval officer. I would have been very glad to see him in the Navy uniform, because in his civilian clothes, he was something to see, too. He wore beautiful clothes, and I'm sure they were tailor-made, because they had to be. He certainly didn't buy them off the rack, as I do. In particular, I remember him in winter wearing a light-colored camel hair coat, and boy, he was something to see. And Babe loved fast cars. Oh, one other thing I must remember. Babe was a big man, and he had by far the biggest hands of any man I've ever seen. And once I said, Babe, you could probably pick up almost anything or with those big mitts of yours. And he said, you bet I can. I can even pick you up. And boy, he did. He put me under his arm like I was some little kid. And I wasn't exactly a lightweight. In fact, I was 20 pounds heavier than I am now. And Babe loved fast cars, and big ones too. I remember a trip we took to Philly, barreling down a highway at least 80 miles an hour. And I said, Babe, you're going to get pinched if you keep this up. And he laughed. He said, don't worry, they'll never catch me. And I know they never would. And another thing about a car, I remember trying to park over on the avenue when I went over. I always had trouble, but Babe never did, because he just parked anywhere he wanted to. And one day I was in his car, and he opened his glove compartment. And lo and behold, inside, I'll bet there were a dozen parking tickets there. And I looked, said, Babe, you're going to get pinched. I know you are. And he laughed. He said, "Don't worry about that." He said, "The police chief, I played ball, and we're friends, so he'll never do that to me." And Babe was also a very shrewd card player. I never played with him. I don't believe he was a bridge player, as I am forced to be. I think gin was his favorite game. I would never play for him because I know he would have taken me to the cleaners. Usually, many times he would leave us and go and say, "I'm going over town and play gin with my pigeon." And that was one of the merchants that lived around, that had a store on 12th Avenue. Then his name I don't recall, which is, I guess, just as well. I guess you know what pigeon means in that case. And Babe, being a big man, was very generous and caring, humorous. And before he was married to Dorothy Pat, we spent many a happy hour at the old 40 and 8 in Pleasant Valley. And frequently on Saturday nights, after they had been around the town, done the town, they'd stop in our home at our home in El Dorado, and we would have a sandwich, usually of corned beef on rye. Remember, corned beef we bought at a deli on, I think it was 11th Avenue. It was by far the best we ever had. And there was one morning, my wife and I were awakened about 6 o'clock in the morning, and we went to the door, and there was Dottie and Babe, and they said, "We're going to get married." Dorothy, in other words, had picked him up at the airport, and on their way home, they stopped to tell us the good news. And so we invited him in and had a toast with coffee. Let's see, while we were in Altoona, my daughter was born, and Babe's 2 children. And I vividly remember the time that he came to our home and told us, he said, "What do you know? My son has been born. I have my ball player." He was also very pleased when Shelley came along shortly after. And I'm glad to say that that son of his, Paris, is with us today to receive a richly deserved award for his dad. Okay, Paris, you're on.
Thank you, Phil. I can't think of anyone else in the world I'd rather have present the honor. As far back as I can remember, he's been a very great friend of the family. Speaking of my family, we'd like to thank the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame for the honor of inducting my father into its ranks. It's been many years since I've been back to this area, and many things have changed. One thing hasn't changed, though, and that's this area's ability to instill a burning desire to excel in athletics in its children. I recall the winter of 1960, our local YMCA was going to hold a basketball tournament for high school and college teams. Invitations were sent out, and teams from as far away as Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and Baltimore came. Dad was asked to help form and coach a team called the Pennsylvania All-Stars. I don't know if anybody remembers that. What a team it was. Richie Allen, later with Philadelphia Phillies and the Chicago White Sox, and his brother Ron Allen from Wampum, Pennsylvania. Cal Sheffield from Newcastle and later played with Pitt. Ron Fuqua, and our local boys, Jim Curry, Bob Barnhill, Dick Leopold, John Myers, and Dave Koslow. Babe told our boys to be a little rough under the boards. He was always like that. And when Richie Allen fouled an opposing player while shooting and then made an obscene gesture to the referee, the other coach complained. Dad stood up and he yelled at Richie and told him not to do that again. And he called a timeout. In the ensuing huddle during the timeout, I heard Dad say, "Good job. When you do it again, just make sure he can't get up to shoot the foul shot." My dad was a great competitor. He was a winner. He hated to lose. He was my idol. This Vince Lombardi old school mentality was what I was brought up with, and it was great. My father, Babe, was my hero, and I'm not ashamed to say that he was a hero of a lot of other kids, too. Certain things have a way of staying the same, don't they? This area has always been a breeding ground for heroes, and what a marvelous way it is to keep that going. This Hall of Fame gives us a constant reminder of who we are and where we come from. So this recognition of Babe not only honors myself and my family, but my extended family too, all the Pats. And more importantly than that, all the young people in this area, whoever they are, because they all have heroes. I appreciate you honoring my father's memory, and I salute Altoona and Blair County for its people. Don't ever change that. Thank you.
Thank you, Paris. Nicely done. In his acceptance speech, Mr. Temple mentioned the scholarship winners. This is, again, the third annual installation banquet, and last year, the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame began a new tradition, one that hopefully will continue, and not only continue, but expand, as Mr. Temple suggested, and that is the Hall of Fame scholarship winners. And here to announce this year's scholarship winners from the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame is Mike Irwin. Mike?
It'll take me a minute to get set up. Thanks, Steve. I know Nikki did all the work. I'm glad you're doing something now. Thank you, Stan. Before presenting the awards, I would like to congratulate all the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame inductees. And it's a special privilege for me this evening because of my father's induction. It's like Paris Pat said there about how proud he was of his father and what a hero. Our dad has always been a hero in our hearts. So, Dad, congratulations. The family's very proud of you. Is that the way you told me to say it, Dad? I know there was a lot more, but I'm going to cut it brief. On behalf of the committee, it is an honor and a pleasure for me to present the second annual Blair County Sports Hall of Fame Scholarship Award winners. I'm happy to present a $1,000 scholarship to Karen Dugan of Claysburg Kimmel High School. Karen, if you would please come up now. Karen ranked 4th in her class of '85 at Claysburg Kimmel High School. She had a grade point average of over 93%. She was the highest academic honor in 11th grade business class. She was a Scholastic Academic All-American, a who's who among American high school students. She had a perfect attendance for 11 years. And I don't know, Karen, did you get sick for 3 days this year? So we found out she's only human. She was absent 3 days in 12 years. She won 4 letters in basketball, 4 letters in softball. I talked to her on the phone the other night. She said she's plays shortstop on the team, but she's a better defensive player than an offensive player. But she was leading Claysburg Kimmel at that time. The record was 9-2. She was the captain of the basketball and softball teams. She was named to the all-tournament teams at Claysburg, Central, and Bedford tournaments. She was the most valuable player in the Bedford tournament, which incidentally Claysburg won for the last 3 years. She was also the highest, received the highest foul shooting award at Claysburg Kimmel High School. As far as school activities, this year she was a treasurer of the National Honor Society, and she was a member of the National Honor Society in 1987 and 88. Also the National Business Honor Society, she was president this year, and she was the secretary in 87 and 88. And in between, She played the trumpet in the band for the last 9 years.
I would just like to thank the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame for choosing me for this very special honor. Thank you.
There is not a parent in a nation who wouldn't be proud of our 1989 Boys Scholarship winner, John J. Rusnak of Altoona Area High School. John. Congratulations, John. I hate this. You don't have to be intimidated, John. John could not be denied this award because of his outstanding accomplishments. And he has already received an appointment to the United States Naval Academy, where he's going to join his brother, Racer. So we're very pleased. You know, when we started reviewing these resumes as they were being sent in, I mean, this one just stood out like, you know, none of the other applicants. We had all good applicants, but when you hear the background of John, they call him J.J. Rusnak, I think you'll hope, and I want Brian and Eric, my two sons, to listen because these are great accomplishments, and I think he can be used as an example for any parent for their kids. So kids that are here, you can strive for this. I'm not sure you'll ever achieve it, but you can strive for it. He ranked #1 in his class, and I'm not sure, 600 or 700 kids, JJ, something like that. He had a perfect 5.0 grade point average. His SATs weren't perfect. He had 1,320 in his SATs, 630 in math, or verbal, excuse me, and 690 in math. So, believe me, that's a good score, and it's nice to have the balance between the two. He was a National Merit Letter winner. He was named Who's Who among American high school students. He received the Presidential Academic Fitness Award. As for athletics, he won 4 letters in wrestling and 2 letters in football, and he was under the expert tutelage of Marty Rusnak. That'll cost you $5, Marty. He received the 1988 Tall Cedars Outstanding Student Athlete in football. In '88 and '89, he was named to the Altoona Mirror Wrestling All-Star Team. He was the Altoona Mirror Athlete of the Week in January of '89, and he was the starting tailback of the 1988 District 6 Championship football team. This year already, in 1989, he went to Pittsburgh, and before about 2,500 people, received the Golden Triangle Scholar Athlete Award in Pittsburgh. And that's an award where they honor about 130 kids throughout western Pennsylvania. And I know Marty told me the lowest cumulative average of any of these kids was like 3.4 out of a possible 4. In 1988, he was the Central Northeast Regional Wrestling Champion, as well as being on the Central Northeastern Region Wrestling Conference All-Star Team. He was one of the top wrestlers in the state at his weight class at 152 pounds. I'm not sure where he finished this year. I know he's in the top 8, but the kids that were there, out of the top 6 kids in the state, he beat the 4, including the #1 kid in the state. So he also was a good wrestler as well as a good football player. I know I watched him many nights at Mansion Park. Now, school activities, you know, it doesn't sound that great. Junior class president, senior class president, National Honor Society, Student Council, Math Team, Computer Club, Spanish Club, and he received the Principal's Leadership Award in 1989, which is one that Mr. Bitar gives out, and I'm sure JJ is very proud of. So there are, a few more other things mentioned here, but at this time I would like to congratulate JJ, wish him good luck at the Naval Academy, and I'm sure when he graduates, we're all going to be in good hands. JJ.
I'm going to keep this very short also. I would just like to thank Mr. Owen and the rest of the committee for choosing me to receive this scholarship. I would also like to thank my parents for all that they've done for me. They've been a big help. It's a great honor to receive this award. Thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike, and Karen and JJ. Congratulations. JJ, if it's all right, we could take those 1320 board scores, split them in half, and get a couple Pitt football players eligible. If they could just learn how to spell SAT, I think all the problems would be solved. Since we are less than a year removed from the Summer and Winter Olympic Games of 1988, of course, in Calgary and Seoul, I'm sure I speak for all of us and represent all of us when I say that whenever an American won a gold medal, you got a lump in your throat and a chill through your body. It's just something to see and something you remember for your entire lifetime. How many of us can say that we were the best at anything? I mean, I certainly can't. I won't speak for you, but how many of us can say, yes, we were the best and proved it in international competition? Our next presenter did indeed do just that. Horace Ashenfelter was the 1952 gold medal winner in the 3,000-meter steeplechase, again, the 1952 Olympics. In addition to that, he was named the Sullivan Award winner for 1952, which, as you know, is given to the outstanding amateur athlete in the United States of America. He was the AAU cross-country champion in both 1955 and 1956, a phenomenal athlete. Here to present the award to inductee Jim Gerdes is his teammate on the Penn State track team in the early 1950s, Horace Ashenfelter. Horace?
Thank you, Stan, Steve, members of the selection committee, and the you nice folks from Blair County. I want to commend you. You're the ones that we should honor. And Karen, JJ, you're the now and the future. We're all, unfortunately, the past. And this is the one sad thing about being up here with all of us old-timers. We're history. But be that as it may, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Jim Gerdes. Now, Jim's got a couple of character flaws. Now, I know he's a favorite son and all that sort of thing. I know he was a track and football hero here in Altoona High School. I know he was a great sprinter and a hurdler at Penn State. He beat Harrison Dillard, who was probably one of the best sprinters and hurdler ever. He was a most successful Navy track and cross-country coach. He also taught several other sports down there. He directed numerous Special Olympic programs and high school track meets in Maryland. So you can see this man has done a lot of outstanding things, but he still has these flaws that I have a problem with. He wrote a book. He has a great family. But I still have this problem. You know, back at Penn State, we all had, I have a problem with those too. Back at Penn State, our coaches all felt that cross-country was the basis for everything. You trained for cross-country before the season, during the season, and after the season. And the same thing with track. But Jim, he couldn't run more than a quarter of a mile. You know, after we're out there beating our brains out, we're looking for Jim. You know where he was? In the whirlpool. Shin splints. I don't know. I think he is proof of the old adage. His success as a cross-country coach at Navy, I think, is a proof of the old adage. Don't do as I do as I say. He always was a real con man. Another weakness that he had was a game of hearts. Now, at Penn State, you had to play hearts when you went on a trip, on a track trip. And Jim and I, we always thought that we were pretty good, but we ended up being contributors. Isn't that right, Jim? Our coach, Chick Warner, I think, could have given his salary back to Penn State. He was usually the big winner. Now, there are a couple of other Naval Academy stories that I think I've heard. If it's true, he has a pair of bedroom slippers that he takes with him everywhere. I think it's his security blanket. Now, is that true, Jim?
I don't know what he
And another thing, if you happen to double up with Jim on a trip or something like that, make sure you put away the blankets if it's a cold night. I understand he steals them, and he puts them on himself. Now, this he would do to a faithful and trusted and loyal assistant track coach. Can you imagine? Now, with those exceptions, ladies and gentlemen, I want to present to you Jim Gerdes, who was one of the best friends, a fine sprinter, and a greater hurdler, both at Penn State and later. And he's a great guy. Jim Gerdes. Jim Gerdes.
Horace, thank you. We don't bring a guy like that in here to introduce me and honor me and to do what this guy did to me. We honor a person like that. The accomplishments in 1952, 3,000-meter steeplechase, no other American had ever done it before. No other American has done it since. And I think that he was the breakthrough guy. I think since that particular time, our distance runners have started to make the mark in the Olympics. I don't know why I know this, simply because I think I read it in books. Not from my coaching, but the books I read. I thank you, Horace, for coming up and honoring us. I want to thank you not in my behalf, but the people's behalf. I'm glad they got a chance to hear you and to talk with you. He brought his wife along with him. Lillian, we're sure glad you made it here tonight also. I accept this honor. And like those before me, I humbly accept the honor. I think that we who have been in the game, who have done some of the things that might be in the pamphlets, some of it may be true, some of it might, you get better as time goes by, you know. And I know when I was interviewed for these particular articles, I guess maybe I was a lot better a year ago than I am, or was 45 years ago. I wasn't in for honors. I was in it because I wanted to serve young people. I think that I've been able to do that. I know that I've got a lot of friends in the audience. And I know that even while I was in high school, I wanted to help people. I tried my hardest. Penn State, yeah, I was a pretty good sprinter. I was a pretty good hurdler. But my buddies who were there also, I think we all worked together and tried to achieve a certain goal. I spent 36 years teaching and coaching at the United States Naval Academy. And JJ, you did not make a mistake. I don't think you're going to go to a finer institution in this land. And I just know that certainly your background, our wrestling coaches, are going to welcome you with open arms. Karen, same to you. I think that young people today are what we want to serve. And I think as long as we accomplish the service to young people, as far as I'm concerned, there's not much more to do. To Steve Sheets, the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame, a complete surprise. I think the committee, when they start going back 45 years, or as they did me, longer for some of these other people, if we were any good when we did participate, I know that the great athletes that have been coming from this area in the last 30 years are a whole lot better than I ever was. Those guys have no future. They're going to be 45 years from now, they're going to be standing up here and say, my golly, they did remember me. Look what I did way back then. So I think that this Sports Hall of Fame has done a lot to service for people. Never in my wildest dream did I ever think anything like this would ever happen to me. You know, you grow up idolizing people. You're out there participating in athletics, doing everything you've done, not looking for any type of award. But all of a sudden I get a phone call and say, you've been elected, nominated to it. If my mother and father were still here, nobody could have been any more prouder than they. The support, the service, and the goodness that they taught us as children probably helped us get where we are today. The coaches that we have had in this area stand out above the crowd. I think that I idolized every coach I ever had. I know that George Moats, Fred Davis, Keith Junior High School gave a scrawny 120-pound kid a uniform one time. I think it was the last uniform that was given out that particular year for a Keith Junior High School football player. Didn't fit, but I played in it. Ken Bayshore. Last week I was talking to my wife, and I says, when these people from Sports Hall of Fame calls me, they never mention football. They never mention basketball. My wife looked and she says, well, you weren't very good, were you? I said, yeah, I was pretty good. Remember in the crowd today, Joe Tufel came up and said, hey, congratulations to you. He was on one end, I was on the other end. The thing that I should have added to my wife, yeah, I was pretty good then, and I'm going to get a lot better as time goes by. We had Ray Hoffman, who was my basketball coach in high school. Chick Warner, Norm Gordon, my coaches at Penn State. These were outstanding men, heads and shoulders. These were the things that young people looked up to. I think that I was one of Bart's boys. Someone said, well, what's a Bart's boy? A Bart's boy was that affectionate name that was given to the young guys that ran for Dick Bartholomew, who was my coach here at Altoona High. Greatest man that I think that I will ever come in contact with. He not only worked with me, he worked with so many. And I can't say that, yeah, he was responsible for a lot of things. It was the great coaches that I think that we've got to reward for helping young people of today. But I was a Bart boy. If I had to do over, I don't think there's too many other things I would like to redo in my life that I haven't already done. I think life has been good to me. A guy from Altoona, able to sprint, hurdle a little bit, run anything less than a marathon or a mile or a half mile or 441 yards. I did run some quarter miles, 440 yards. Doing what I was able to do, and this magnifies it a whole bunch. But I think that going to the Naval Academy, you know, I think I've got a little story here I'd just like to mention. A few years ago, we recruit at the Naval Academy, nationwide. A few years ago, a young fellow from Louisiana, javelin thrower, interscholastic record in the javelin. I thought I would be able to recruit him to the Naval Academy. I wrote him a letter. He wrote me back. He doesn't even remember this probably, but he wrote me back and says, I've decided to go to another college. Terry Bradshaw, and he's going into the National League Hall of Fame. Think of what he would be if he'd have become a naval officer. But the things that are done here tonight, I think will live a long time, and I sure am happy and proud to have come back for this meeting, see Altoona, and to be with you tonight. Thank you.
I think that all of us, regardless of what sport we ended up excelling in, if indeed we excelled at all, baseball was probably the first thing we tried and maybe even the first thing we loved. And that's why this next presenter is special to me. He played, for the most part, before my time. Actually, I'm happy to say that because I'm running out of people to say that about, and that's kind of disturbing. This gentleman played for the great New York Yankee teams from 1937 to 1950. His greatest year in the major leagues came in 1948 when he hit .308, 25 homers, 100 RBI. I'm happy to say that my Cleveland Indians won the pennant that year, Tom. I can't say that very often either. I'll get that in. Tommy played 3 World Series, and I did not know this before I began preparing, although it surely seems like I haven't prepared at all, I'm sure, for this banquet, that Tommy was the batter at the plate on the famous passed ball by Mickey Owen in that 1941 World Series. He had 183 lifetime homers, 31 of them in 1941, a magnificent career that was interrupted by World War II. And some of his teammates weren't too bad either. You might remember some of these names if you search back in your memory and dig back just a bit. Oh, guys like Joe DiMaggio, Lou Gehrig, Bill Dickey, Charlie King Kong Kelly, just a few minor guys that pass through baseball now and again. This man on a team of great players, when it probably wasn't very easy to get much recognition when you're playing alongside Joe D. and the Iron Horse and Bill Dickey, one of the greatest catchers who ever lived. And yet this man was an absolute star. Here to present Tom Irwin Sr., one of the great ball players of all time, Tommy Henry.
Thank you, Stan. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I've been in the area 2 days, and I have bragged of one thing. I got to change this remark that he made about 3 World Series. I actually played in 4, but that's not what I'm proud of. I'm proud of the fact that when I was with the Yankees, we were in 8 World Series, and we won every one of them. So I'm 8 for 8. And I've searched the record book, and nobody can go up as high as 8 without getting beat. I didn't play in all of them, but I enjoyed it, believe me. They give you 5 minutes here, and I'm supposed to talk about the goodness of Tommy Irwin. I give you 2 minutes, and I give the other 3 to Terry Bradshaw. I ran into Tommy in 1936. He was a rookie, I was a rookie, trying to make the New Orleans Pelicans. It took one day for me to say, who's making all the noise around here? It turned out to be a guy trying out for shortstop. They hit ground balls to him, and as he'd field them, he was chattering and yelling and firing it across there. In one day, I knew who that guy was. And our friendship has gone on ever since. He was a darn good ball player, I'll tell you that. We played down there for a great guy, Larry Gilbert. We could talk for hours. I don't know whether you saw me buzzing with Tommy. I've been buzzing with him for, as I say, yesterday and today, and just enjoying every minute of it, and that's one of the most pleasant feelings I got about being over here. We're bear-down ball players, and we didn't carouse around a whole lot. We didn't make a whole lot of money. We lived in a boarding house down there. Mrs. Mama Jamir, we both talk about her. It was $12.50 a week for room and board and laundry. We had some guys that complained. Once during the year, we went out Sunday night. We got Monday off. We went down to the Roosevelt Hotel, the Blue Room. He had a date, I had a date. There was another young couple in the neighborhood. And down we go. We have dinner in the Roosevelt. And at that time, they got a big band, they got a little floor show, and two people from Hollywood were there. Andy Devine, you remember the great Andy Devine? He and Jimmy Dunn. That goes back a heck of a ways. Jimmy Dunn wanted to leave the room for something or another. He came past our table, and Tommy says, typical Tommy, he says, "What's the matter, Jimmy? Can't you take it?" And Dunn stopped and turned around a bit and said, "Oh, golly, here we go again." When we finished with dinner, we're walking through the lobby of the Roosevelt on the terrazzo floor, I guess it was, and I turn around, I hear this plinkety, plink, plink, plink. This one girl that was married had stolen the silverware, and it's splashing across. And then she turned to her husband and says, "I told you not to take that." So we go out and we did the town. We come out of this last bar, and Tommy says, "What the heck is this?" I says, "Tommy, that's daylight." I says, "Do you want to go home?" He says, "I guess about time." His car, we drive home. Anybody been in New Orleans Canal Boulevard? How wide that place is there? Street over here and a street there, and about 30 feet of sod in the middle. We went home this way for about a mile. And then Tommy says, "Well, let's spur things up here a little bit." So he started cutting off and going up the wrong way, and then we come back and go up, and that's the way we went home. We got out of it. He's tired. He went to bed. The others, we decided we'd have breakfast. 9 o'clock, we said, "Let's go get him up." We go over there to get him out of bed, and gee, Tommy gets out of bed, he's like, "Jeez, Christ," and he says, typical Irwin, he said, "Man," he says, "if I ever get over this one, I'm sure going on another one." That's true. That's just a sample. Years later, in the early 60s, and I'm going to find out something's been on my mind a long time. Did Ohio State ever beat Penn State? Ever?
Yes. No,
Once, didn't he?
64.
In 64?
63 or 64.
Well, this game happened before 64. Tommy calls me up, he says, "Hey, I got tickets. He's coming over to Columbus, and this is the first time I'm going to see him in a long time." Over he comes. Mike is playing in the backfield. I don't know what they call it today, but at that time it was defensive right halfback. That's close to where he played today. At any rate, against the great Ohio State team, Woody Hayes, of all things, decides to pass on first down of the game. And he overthrew the guy, and it was a surprise to Mike, I guess. The ball was right at him, and he dropped the ball. And I say this because, not against Mike at all, but because I remember Tommy's reaction. This was the time for Mr. Irwin, as I know him, to say, "Holy gee, just look at that guy." He didn't do that at all. He let it go, and he says, "It's all right, Mike, it's all right, we'll get him, get him." I says, "Attaboy, Tom," that was a good response on that thing. Then the real other side of Irwin comes out. They got state clobbered in the fourth quarter, Ohio State. 3 touchdowns, something like that. Now Irwin comes out, he stands up and he's going, "Send in your regulars, Woody." Tommy, I played in New Orleans. I got lucky. I was sold to Milwaukee. I didn't like what was Milwaukee and Cleveland were doing. I wrote to Judge Landis. He declared me a free agent. I went with the New York Yankees. That's not too shabby a deal. Tommy stayed in New Orleans, had another good year, went to Milwaukee, had another good year. And if Tommy, I've said this all along, if Tommy someplace along the line had made the right move, maybe writing to Landis for the same reason that I had, covering up his contract, I really believe that Tommy Irwin would have had a doggone good major league career because he could play, I'll tell you that. And that's what I've always thought of him. Now, I feel so happy to have been chosen by Tom to come over here and present him. Nothing can make me more happy than that, to get with him again and laugh like crazy about all the things that happened, the good things, the bad things. And I also want to thank the committee for putting in Tommy Irwin into the Hall of Fame, because I don't think you could get a more representative guy for this position than Mr. Tom Irwin. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much. Don't look too bad. So you guys gonna take our picture, I hope? Oh.
I thought you already had your picture taken.
Yeah. Attaboy. Go get him. Yeah.
Thank you, Tommy, for all those nice things you said about me. You could have left that one about going down to Bucare district. I'll tell you, we were the best dancers on the ball club. I had a little girl down there by the name of Billy Dubuque, a little French girl. I shouldn't tell this because my wife's here. Anyway, I'll tell you something. When you dance with her, just like a clean vine, you know what I mean. I'll tell you, you could dance one side, dance the other side, and you always look, there she is, you know what I mean? And besides that, she could drink more Coca-Colas. I think she had 10 Coca-Colas that night. Of course, the big drink down there was Cuba Libras. That's a little rum and Coke. And she had 10 of them, and I'm going to tell you something. She walked right straight across the floor, and believe me, I had a hell of a time following her. But there's Mike, you know, my son, you know. He and Tom, well, they're great speakers. Tonight he was talking about all these wonderful kids that are getting all these awards, you know, and all this. And I thought there for a moment he was talking about me. See, I went to North Carolina for 5 years. And Jim Tatum was my roommate. And Jim was well, he and I got around a little bit. And so I'll never forget the time it come time to graduate. So we only had 2,500 students at North Carolina at that time. So Dean Carroll called me in and he says, he was the dean of the administration school. He says, Tom, he says, I understand you can play baseball. I said, yes, I do play a little. Well, he said, I'll tell you, you better go play baseball because you're not going to graduate. But anyway, there's Mike and Tom. I'll tell you, they get all this oration or speaking from their mother. Now, when I'm at home and they're there, I open my mouth, they ignore me. Now, she'll talk and talk and talk and talk, and then they'll listen. But I'll tell you, now I'm getting hard of hearing. And, you know, it has its good points and bad points. So now she has to move over to the other side to talk to me. But I'll tell you, she's a wonderful person. She's put up with me for 50 years. We've been married last year, 50 years. And I'll tell you, 35 of those years have been happy ones. You know, I can remember we used to get $2.50 meal money. Now, we'd go on the road for maybe 10 days, He's the only guy I ever knew come back with most of his meal money. And he'd never lose a pound. Finally, I found out what was happening. He used to go around to different guys that he knew on the road and this and that, and he would be getting free meals. So, well, he was known as a, what was that fella's that, Tommy, not Milton Berle, that other fella that was so stingy? Jack Benny, yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I think Jack Benny turned inside out, you know? No, I shouldn't say that, Tom, huh?
You did, though.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I want to thank the committee. This is wonderful. I really enjoy, this is one of the greatest highlights of my life. I have a lot of friends out there. Freddie Del Gross and Bobby Loznak. Freddie puts a big affair on every year for the old timers. Well, I guess we get about what, Freddie, 200? Well, anyway, I think we went, how many barrels of beer did we go through, Tommy? Freddie? Well, anyway, you know, the more beer you drink, you know, the more you talk, and you can hit more home runs, and the pitchers are getting everybody out, and let me see what else. But anyway, Tommy, well, he would have never, I'll tell you something, seriously, he would have never made the big leagues if it wasn't for me. You know, I was the leadoff man. And naturally, for him to get the record that year of most runs batted in, somebody had to get on base. So he batted fourth, and I was the one getting on the base. And of course, and then I try to keep him straight. I'll tell you, that was a rough job keeping Henry straight. You know, he always wanted to go out and do things, and I tried to say, there was one thing he did do, though. He stayed at home. The rest of us might go out a little while, you know. He would stay at home. He liked long hair music. But then now, just tonight, he told me, he says, you know why he stayed at home? I said, no. Well, he said, Mrs. Jameer always had something special for dessert, he said. Well, anyway, thank the committee. All right, I'm leaving. Well, I'm like my son, Humble Mike, you know. Honest to God, when you get a captive audience, I'll tell you, it's really something, isn't it? Hey, Terry, you know, you're going to have, I don't know how much you're getting, Terry, but I'm telling you, I'm not going into extra innings. Thanks, everybody. Thank you all.
I'll tell you what, Steve, I can't make it next year. There's your MC. And I feel fairly certain that we can announce at least one inductee for 1990, and that's your wife. She put up with you for 50 years. She deserves to be in every Hall of Fame. Well, I'll tell you, next time I go to New Orleans, I'll always think of your speech. I will say that. We have several luminaries in the audience, and we want to illuminate those 5 people right now. In our audience tonight, we'll ask them to stand in the spotlight. We'll find them. One of our guests this evening, and Tommy mentioned in his speech, Bob Loznak is here. He is the owner of the Albuquerque AAA ball club, Pacific Coast League, the farm club of the Los Angeles Dodgers, riding high after a World Series win. Although the way they're going now, you better tell the sorter to put the weight back on. Bob Loznak. Bob? This gentleman has been a member of the selection committee for the inductees for the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame since its inception. And he's going to move to Florida to work on his golf game. And John, from what I understand, you'll probably be down there a long time before you get that golf game working. He has been responsible for nominees from the Tyrone and Williamsburg areas and has served the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame committee very well. John Kettner. John? This gentleman was an inductee last year, the class of 1988, the second class, and I'm frankly surprised to see him here just 1 year later. because he was presented by his good friend Jack Ham, who did as good a slice job on this gentleman as I've ever seen done. And he came up here at least figuratively bleeding, but it was obviously all in good fun. Obviously, a native of the area, great football player for the New York Jets, John Ebersol. John? Also an inductee from last year, the class of 1988. He was presented by Mike Reed. This gentleman, as you know, for 20 years was the head football coach at Altoona High School, Earl Strom. Earl? And for the last 4 years, you and I have all enjoyed this young man, watching him play basketball. He went to a school that is storied in basketball tradition, and even with that challenge, leaves Villanova University as the third leading scorer in Villanova basketball history, and that takes in a lot of great basketball players. He's anxiously awaiting the NBA draft, which takes place next month. He's a sure shot, very high selection, Altoona's own Doug West. Doug? I'm surprised that our next presenter didn't wear a green tuxedo. Now, it's not that I minded Notre Dame winning the national championship. I just didn't want to hear about it for the next 2 decades. This gentleman has always had a soft spot in my heart because when I played football in high school and briefly in college, I was a lineman. Not a very good one, but a lineman nonetheless. And linemen, of course, are supposed to go out and get their uniforms muddy and break their noses and look stupid. I've accomplished at least 2 out of the 3. But poor linemen, you know, they're blocking for the stars and picking up the big money and CBS and everything else, and they just go about their business and walk away from the game looking like this. But this man was and still is the only lineman in history to win the Heisman Trophy. A situation that ought to be corrected one of these days. No one ever said that running backs are the best players in the game. He won the Heisman Trophy in 1949 for Notre Dame. He played for the Detroit Lions from 1950 through 1957. And during his years with Notre Dame from 1946 through 1949, he played for a team that never lost a game. The Fighting Irish in those 4 years had a record of 36-0-2. He is a member of college football's Hall of Fame, deservedly so. A native of Pittsburgh, to be more exact, Turtle Creek, Pennsylvania. And as a member of the Detroit Lions from 50 to 57, he was a teammate of our next inductee. Here to present Blaine Aaron is Leon Hart.
Mr. Toastmaster, honored guests, and by honored guests I mean all those who didn't pay, ladies and gentlemen, and Blaine Aaron. Listening to Stan give all those accolades about my background reminds me of the horns of a steer, and that is a point here and a point there, and a lot of Stan's bull in between. Needless to say, I'm greatly honored to be the presenter for Blaine Aaron. I first met Blaine in 1952 when he was a Lions rookie coming to rookie training camp. He was one of 8 rookies that made the squad that year, which was quite an accomplishment because it was a championship year. He came on board with the Lions with the likes of Pat Summerall, who was his roommate, Yale Larry, Jim David, Tom Dublinsky, Bob Miller, Byron Bailey, and Stan Campbell. At 190 pounds, Blaine was the smallest defensive end in the National Football League. However, pound for pound, he was the best there was. He had the luxury of doing everything he could to put weight on, while the rest of us had to constantly fight off the pounds. I think Blaine's greatest asset was he had no fear on the football field or off. It mattered not what the odds, and I might say he was therefore very highly regarded by his teammates. And having this lack of fear off the field, I might elaborate somewhat and tell you a story that I'm probably not sure if Blaine ever even told Betty, his wife. But I'm going to tell it anyway. My ad hoc assignment with the Detroit Lions was to be in charge of entertainment during those years. And this involved, number one, advising all of the Catholics on the team what time Sunday Mass was in the city we were in, and where the church was. Then number two, find the best $1.50 dinner buffet in town. You've probably done some of that, Tom. And number three, during the exhibition season, when we played games in the dry states of Texas and Oklahoma, I had to find where the 6% beer was. Practice in Oklahoma and Texas heat in August made this very important to replace all of the body fluids in the 80-degree heat, sometimes better than 100-degree heat. While in Norman, Oklahoma in 1952, I made arrangements with Lieutenant Duggart to use the officers' club at the naval base there for the whole week. On federal property, 6% beer could be sold, so I fulfilled my obligation. The first day, our fearless inductee showed up with his roommate, then at that time, Tom Dublinsky. Tom was a quarterback, so as an end, Blaine was entertaining him to make sure that he would throw to him. Blaine left his seat at the bar with a half-empty glass next to Tom. 7 naval officers arrived, and one took Blaine's seat. And Tom advised him that the seat was taken. And the naval officer said, "Yes, by me." And Tom Dublinsky foresaw the inevitable. On Blaine's return from the John, he asked to have his seat. The naval officer said no, and yes, you know what happened. Blaine decked the naval officer. The 6 other naval officers attacked, and Tom and Blaine, like 2 John Waynes, were back-to-back in the wildest free-for-all the officers' club in Norman, Oklahoma ever had. The manager let them escape out of the side door with the entire officers of the base chasing him. This is all the information I got on a second-hand basis. I called the next day to apologize. Lieutenant Duggart said the team was still welcome, but don't let that Blaine Aaron come back here or we'll kill him. Now that was quite a threat. And of course, it did sound interesting to me at the time, and I really never did warn him about it. Well, I and the rest of the team wanted to see a replay. We really thought it was... We almost nicknamed him John Wayne, but then thought the better of it for John Wayne's sake. Blaine, it's indeed an honor for one's own hometown to show their appreciation for all of the things you've accomplished in football. And you should cherish this honor above all, but the ones that you may receive. Now, just as I gave you instructions when you were a rookie with the Lions, allow me to give you some instructions, or now that you're going through the ages of 60s, give you some rules that all of us 60-year-old men must abide by. There are only 2 rules, and we find it very necessary to abide by the rules. So rule number 1, anytime you pass a John, go in. Now, rule number 2, if you ever hear about someone your age or our age having an affair, find out who the caterer is. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, allow me the pleasure of presenting to you your 1989 inductee into the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame, Blair Aaron.
So help me, I wish everybody in here could have the feeling I have right now. To have an individual with the credentials of Leon Hart introduce you with the honors he holds, there's no doubt in my mind the closest thing most of us could experience would be to have the Pope come christen us into the church. Altoona is my hometown. No matter where I go, what I do, it's still my hometown. To come back here tonight and to be honored by my hometown can't be a greater honor. Got lots of people, and it's got to be short. I can't name everybody, but I will name people that you might be aware of in town that were very helpful. First of all, I'd like to thank the Lord, and we all get help by the Lord. Secondly, my parents. A lot of you knew my mother, Roxy, and she was a great person. If I only got part of her in my system, I feel gratified. Got to thank my neighbors. They're the ones that furnished the competition in this town. We had more children on our street, and I met some of them here tonight, and they're too numerous really to name each and one of them, but I'll tell you what, the toughest competition I found in my practicing and playing was my neighbor children. I can lie to a bunch of you, but I can't lie to them because they know what I can do and what I can't do. Thank Coach Clyde Bowser. He was my junior high coach, and he's the first one to give me a chance at organized ball. And I wanted it so bad. And the reason I wanted it so bad, I had neighbor children, and they were playing, and I was small. He did give me that chance. Ken Bashore. Ken Bashore is the one that sold me to the colleges and gave me a chance to go to college and get an education. Not all coaches do that. Harry Dingus, I think he's still in this town. Great man. Ray Hoffman, I heard him mention. I played a year of high school basketball. We had Coach Morris. I don't know where he's at this time, but he was line coach. And also Bartholomew, the track coach, and Coach Adams. They meant a lot. Coaches in those days spent some time with you. They cared about you. Unfortunately, most kids here don't get to see a coach more than 2 years. And somebody decides they're not doing the winning job and they're gone. And this isn't right. I had coaches I recognized. I could come back and see them. They were only doing their job and they were good people. Tonight, Leon Hart. He went, when I went as a rookie, people in town said, you'll never have a chance of making it. Leon Hart's up there. You're an end. What do you got, a 190-pounder going up there? And they about had me believing it. I got up there in camp, and who's in camp and rookie camp because he's getting in shape? Leon Hart. He's the one that got behind me, showed me moves I did not know, which made it possible for me to make it. I said, if he don't care, I can make this thing. If he's on my side. And that's exactly the way it worked out.
Tom Parsons was from this town. Tom carried me to Duke on my first visit. I've never said or had a chance to say a whole lot, but Tom Parsons was a great individual and made a very enjoyable trip for Jack Hopper and myself when we went down there. And I don't know, Bill may be around here, and I know Bill was inducted into this thing, but Tom was one fine individual, and he helped sell me on Duke. Steve Lack, which was one of the inductees here. Steve Lack, I saw him in high school. He went on to Duke. I had been following Pittsburgh and Penn State, which I thought were the only two colleges there were. And then Steve Black played at Duke when they played against Pittsburgh, and I realized there was another school. Thanks to this Blair County Sports Hall of Fame, Steve, Neil, David, and Bernie, and the rest of the selection committee. Thank you so much for making this evening. Thank all you people here. You're coming out. This is what makes it. Heck, they wouldn't have this thing if there wasn't this crowd in this room. I'm proud to be part of you. And I want to thank my wife. 36 years married, wife and mother of my 4 children, for making the transition 36 years ago from football, which I thoroughly enjoyed, into the regular routine life. Thank you so much. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be part of this group up here. I heard your speeches, and I'll guarantee you I'm not a dynamic speaker, and we got one coming up here, but I do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Blaine. One of the things I always regretted as a sportscaster, and one in Pittsburgh especially, was that I never got a chance to say goodbye to Terry Bradshaw, the football player. Because of the circumstances under which he retired, he didn't get one of the big emotional send-offs that we had done for so many other players from the great Steeler teams. I don't know what I would have said after the 1983 season. Unfortunately for you, I do now. Yeah, it's late. I'll get down in a minute. Yeah, Mr. Hall of Fame. 1977, Baltimore's Memorial Stadium, Steelers and Colts. Mr. Hall of Fame. 5 interceptions that day. They got blown out so badly, I left the press box and came down to the runway, which led into the locker room at Old Memorial Stadium, where the Colts played. And normally, we're not allowed in the locker room until 10 minutes after the game's over, but we got down there early because they were getting blown out. 5 interceptions. And I must say I was impressed by what I saw. Here came Bradshaw down the tunnel. He was so angry at himself. One thing about Terry, when he didn't play well, he'd be the first to say so. You didn't have to ask him about it. It'd be the first thing out of his mouth. And he was such a fierce competitor. He just could not stand. He hated to lose, and he hated the fact that when he didn't play well, and he came down that runway, and his jaw muscles were clenched tight, and the veins were popping out in his neck, and he was mumbling to himself, berating himself for his performance. And he crossed over the threshold from the tunnel to the locker room. He ripped off his helmet, and he fired at his locker, and it was intercepted. I got another one. If you remember late in his career, the big entrepreneur, this is after, no, this is before the Minor Bird sat on his arm. You remember that one? Remember the Minor Bird? You remember he came out with Terry peanut butter. Anybody buy a jar? Obviously not. They made you pay? Well, after that failed, a year later they came out with Terry beer. They did. And Mr. B was nice enough to give me a 6-pack. Well, I knew what the story with the peanut butter was, and I was a little reluctant to drink that beer. I mean, I knew that he owned a farm down in Grand Cane, Louisiana, and I wasn't sure where the distillery was, and might have been one of those guys with the overalls and the straw hat with the jug over. No. So I took a can, and I sent it to a friend of mine who was a chemist at the University of Pittsburgh. And I wanted to get an evaluation in the laboratory as exactly what was in this beer before I would drink any of it. And a week went by, a week and a half, 2 weeks. Finally, I got a note from my friend the chemist. And the note said, "Dear Stan, your horse has diabetes." So the beer didn't sell real well with the peanut butter either. If you look at this week's Sports Illustrated, a writer named Rick Riley has a section in the back I found fascinating. Take all the uniform numbers from 0 through 99, and if you could retire only one player who wore that uniform, who would you pick? And there were several complications. I mean, number 44, there was Henry Aaron, Jerry West. I mean, who do you give it to? Number 14, Ernie Banks, Pete Rose, Oscar Robertson. Number 12, Terry Bradshaw. He wrote, and alongside it said 4 rings, and that was the reason why. This man here, in all seriousness, gave me some of the greatest thrills I have ever experienced in my life covering or participating in athletics. I don't know about you, but I get a great deal of feeling when I watch a great artist perform. A great singer sing, a great painter paint, a great musician play, a great artist perform. And I got that feeling when I watched Terry Bradshaw play football. He was an artist. And it was an honor and a thrill for me to watch him play. Memorable moments, we haven't got enough time. But the last game he ever played will always stand out. Could not lift his arm above his shoulder, and took a moribund offensive football team and scored 2 touchdowns, both on passes, one to Penn State's Greg Gary, the other to Calvin Sweeney, in a little over a quarter. And the man literally could not lift his arm above his shoulder. One of the most courageous, magnificent, emotional performances I've ever seen. 6 months ago, someone called my radio talk show and said, "Gee, do you think Terry will get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame on the first ballot?" And I responded, if he doesn't, they ought to close that place down forever. Ladies and gentlemen, Terry Bradshaw.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, folks. Appreciate it. Very, very kind of you. I know we're short on time here tonight, and I didn't realize this was a roast, or I'd have brought my roast material. Mike Irwin, naturally, there's someone in Pennsylvania got to take a shot at the intelligence remarks sitting over here, because a young man got in the Naval Academy, and I'm through. Hey, I had a 4.0 myself. You add up my freshman, my sophomore, my junior, and you get 4.0. Besides that, what's he going to do on Sunday afternoons parked up in Philadelphia if ain't some of us idiots out there throwing a pigskin because we weren't smart enough to get in the Naval Academy? That's kind of the way I look at it. And another thing while I'm on it, I wasn't all that smart, and so I had to hire an accountant and a business manager to manage the millions of dollars that I made while It really gets to me when folks say those things. Altoona, Pennsylvania, it's good to be here. Hall of Famers, inductees, presenters. Leon, I'm sitting next to a legend, another legend, wants to be a legend. It is indeed an honor. I don't come to Pennsylvania. I don't travel this area that often. It's by my own choosing. I started work with KDKA Television, in which I had to criticize my teammates, ex-teammates, players, coaches, Pittsburgh Steelers. And so therefore I had to dodge some bullets, and I couldn't afford to be seen in this state for the last 5 years. Well, now I'm out and about. I quit. left KDKA. No more am I doing that. And I want to take the opportunity when I have a chance to get up here, I want to come. I used to not come. I used to feel uncomfortable in this state. Didn't feel like I was welcome. Even when we were winning, I said, well, let me go home where they understand the way I talk. That's important, I think. So it's good to be here. I'm honored that you would ask me up to speak. Of all the great speakers that are out there, for $200 you could have got them, and you chose me. I want to thank Neil Rudell for flying over and picking me up in, where was I? What's Tattersville? Tannersville, yeah, that's where I was. I was in Tannersville at the, someplace there. Anyway, I want to thank Neil, and I want to thank Terry and Fran Lincolnfelter for picking me up. I had a little bit late for my press conference because of the horse race today, and I had to watch that horse race. Who saw the race? Who won? Sunday Silence by that much. Beat Easy Gore, or whatever the horse's name is, beat him by a nose. Great race anyway. It's good to be here. Most importantly, to be a part of an event in which we're inducting Hall of Famers. And I'm thrilled to be a part of an induction coming up in August. And Stan Savern, I hope you're there. You're going to be there, Stan. How you turn this on? Yeah. Huh? Is it on? Let me walk out.
Here, let me turn it on.
Can you turn it on? Sure. First thing is your eyes.
Yeah. You're ready.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me all right? Can you hear me? Oh. I was in Los Angeles, California. Now, I'm not going to keep you long. I want to get right to the blunt of this. I was in Los Angeles, California, and I was standing in a huddle. I wasn't standing. I never stood, did I? I always got down because I was trying to think, Mike. I was trying to think. How smart you got to be to play this game. If the guy's open, what do you do with the football? Someone answer me. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Now, all of you that said throw it probably went to college, didn't you? And if he's covered, what do you do with it? Throw that sucker. Throw it anyway. That's how you play the game. It's that simple. You throw it. If he's covered, you throw it if he's open. Get rid of it. You are going to get hit. Unload the football. That's how smart I was. I'm in the huddle. Tight full right, split close, flanker motion, flanker 93, tackle trap on one. Not bad, huh? Up to the line of scrimmage, these guys go. We're on the 1 yard line in Super Bowl 14. We're on the huddle. Huddle is on the 13-yard line. When I walked out of the huddle, bing, it hit me. And for you young athletes here, there's a time in your life when it's over. Finished. It's over. And the point that this little birdie was fixing to tell me was, stop, Terry. Look around and appreciate what you got. Appreciate it, don't you? Every one of you appreciate it. Appreciate it. We're here talking about old times. I'm 40 years old now. I'm talking about talking about old times. How I used to be. Leon, 60 years old. Talking about back Notre Dame 20 years ago. Started out before I even was born. I mean, it always hits everyone. I'm 20 years out of college now. I mean, it won't be long, it'll be 30, then 40. I walk out of the huddle, and the linemen go up to the line of scrimmage, and the Steelers. Are we in Steeler country? All right. It's about time we got around some folks that support us. They walk up to the line of scrimmage. I stopped. We're fixing to go in. We're fixing is a southern phrase. We're about to score. I'll translate as I go. History's about to be made. The only team to win Super Bowls 4 times. The only team to win them twice back-to-back. History. Great assemblance of athletes, people, human beings. And this talk is based on people, dreams, goals, and love. How many people are in love? Let me see your hands. Yeah, how many people are in love? Let me see. I can't see your hands. How many are looking to get in love? My hand's up. Oh, hi. All right, later. Me right out here. I'm married again, so They walk up to the line of scrimmage, and I stopped. The voice said, I want you to look around, Terry, and capture the moment, because you're never going to be here again. The Steelers are never going to win the Super Bowl again. How true that was. Steelers are never going to win again. Arthur Rooney's never going to see another Super Bowl again. Chuck Noll's not going to win another Super Bowl in the next 10 years. You're never going to play in another great sporting event the rest of your life. Stop right now, turn around, and capture this moment. It is your last event. You can play games, and you can play baseball, and you can play basketball, and you can play out in the yard, and you can play them all day long, and you can broadcast every sporting event that Penn State and Pitt does, but until you do a Rose Bowl or an Orange Bowl or a Cotton Bowl or until you play in a Super Bowl, they're just games. It's the big event we're all talking about. I'm hired here tonight because why? Not because I made 4.0, not because I graduated with an engineering degree, although I do have a PE degree, petroleum engineering. It's because why? Because we won, we excelled, and that's what people like. That's the American way. That's what they dream of. Stop, capture it. And I looked at them, I saw them all walk up the line of scrimmage. I said, look at this, 108,000. Who in here played in front of 108,000 people? Anybody? Any of you ladies in here? Any men? 108. I said, look at this. Turned around. I said, God, look at that. Look at these people. I never stopped to capture what it was like to be in a great sporting event. So look at this, Terry. There, look at those Steeler fans. Always got the worst seats in the house. You ever been to Cleveland where they stick you can't even watch your game? Oh, yeah, that's why everybody fights when you go to Cleveland. Stick you down there where everybody can throw beer on you and spit on you from upstairs. They stuck them up there. Steeler fans had on their sweaters, black and gold, so everybody didn't know who they were. It's 90 degrees outside, sweating all over everybody. Fights breaking. I said, there they are. Look at them. Look at those people. Look at those Steeler fans up there. I'm not going to forget you folks. I don't forget what y'all done to me. Made fun of me, Ozark Eye. Golly, it's sure good to be up here in Pittsburgh. Hot dang, boy, we going to win. And we did. I won't forget you. I remember how after the games they used to come down in my pickup truck. It wasn't a Mercedes-Benz like y'all probably thought. It was a pickup truck, and with just one finger tell me I was number one in their family. I won't forget that. I said, I see you. I see you. I won't forget. There's always events in life as a sports personality that always remain with us and have an effect on us. The fans, no, I don't like them. Are you kidding me? You think I want to go to Pittsburgh? You crazy? You hear how I talk? I want to be in Atlanta. I want to be in New Orleans, Dallas Cowboys, Houston, close to mama, family, close to my girlfriend Penny. They want to be in Pittsburgh, but the impact that they had on me was so dynamic. Because folks, you made me tough, and if you hadn't made me tough, wouldn't have made it. Wouldn't have made it. I won't forget you. I won't forget you now either. How kind and generous you are to me. How you're hollering at me on the street. Hey, Brad, you're coming back. Come on back, we need you. I wouldn't come back for $500 million. I've seen the offensive line. It's I see them. I won't forget it. Capture a moment. Only emotions you can experience, but you can't remember. Only the memory can last. I see them. I'll remember that. Just remember how I was a little boy with a football up in Comanche High, which is where I grew up. 7 years old, my dream was to be in the National Football League. Got a football, learned how to put my finger on the end of it. It's the only way I could throw it because my hands were small. I learned how to throw it and got in front of a mirror and stood there like Johnny Unitas. Oh, I said, remember these things. These are so important. They'll last with you for a lifetime. I won't forget that. I won't forget throwing it in a tree, throwing it in the truck, throwing it on top of the house, throwing it over a clothesline pole, dodging my truck, dodging the clothesline pole, going around the house, throwing it up and listening with my eyes closed so I could hear it bounce, so I could determine which way it was going. Didn't realize I was getting ready, preparing myself to be in the National Football League. A dream. Had no idea it would come true. I don't want to ever give up on dreams. And you young folks out there, don't ever give up on young dreams. JJ, I believe the young lady's name was it Karen? Karen, you got dreams, go for it. I won't forget that. How I tried out in the 7th grade and didn't make the team. 8th grade didn't make the team. 9th grade didn't make the team. 10th grade didn't make the team. 11th grade didn't make the team. 12th grade, they all graduated, nobody left. Got a uniform. I think what that says is if you persevere and you believe in it, it'll come true. I remember the first time in my business, I made my hands playing with another man's butt. How many of you go to work and the first thing you do is, yeah, get on down there, Mike. And I'll never forget my coach. When I told him, he said, son, what position you play? I said, I'm a quarterback. I never taken a snap in my life. Well, get on under there and take a snap. Well, I'm Baptist, and I don't think my mama's going to want me put my hands. There's just things under there I don't particularly think I ought to have my hands up under there. He said, no, son, get on down here and put your hands under that center. And this little boy had a little butt kick way up in the air and had to, I thought, I can't do that. I just can't do that. That's how come Staubach had to do the shotgun in Dallas. Because he had that little walk up to the line of scrimmage. And Tom Rafferty used to see that walk and go, hold it right there, man. You ain't putting your hands under me. And then Landry said, well, I got a problem here. Tom, you get that. Come here. And Roger went to the Naval Academy, JJ. Get on down here. Yeah, snap it. There you are, shotgun. That'll work. Put your hands on. No, go. Put your hands on. I won't forget putting my hands under another man's butt. I won't ever forget it. And what I wouldn't give today to have old Webster out one more time. Get down there, Mike. Put my hands under there. And Ray Mansfield, when we became successful in Pittsburgh, used to take a razor blade and cut the crotch out of his practice pants. And on picture day, when they had everybody there, when they all gathered around, we did the old fake, we do what they call starts. We just line up and do simple plays and run. And thousands of people would come and watch us. And we used to stand up there, but we always were taught to put our hands under the center first and then bark out the signals. But Webster was so short that when he got a man over him, he got his tail so low, I couldn't see, so I had to make my changes before I went down. And Ray was standing up there, and he always loved to play pranks on me. And he'd cut the crotch out of his practice pants. And there'd be 15,000, Varong, 15,000 people watching us. And I'm standing up there, swelled with pride, as I go up for the first snap of the season. Red 90! Red 90! Oh, Ranger! Oh. Heck of a way to make a living. I won't forget that. The dreams, signing with a small school, being drafted #1, all the work, all this sweat that's coming off me right now, taught me a lesson that if you want something in life, young folks, you got to work for it. You got to work, and you got to endure pain. All part of the, God knows, I deserved at least one Super Bowl for the pain I endured in Pittsburgh, just one. I won't forget it. And I looked around, I came across, and there's a TV screen. I said, look at that. Man, look how far you've come from Louisiana Tech. Capture that. Look, remember that. Saw myself, stood there. This is beautiful, man. I love this. Thousands of reporters taking pictures just like this guy right here. Go ahead. Eased on over and saw Chuck Noll, the guy I fought with for all those years, standing on the sideline, who used to call a timeout after I'd take them 99 yards and get to the other end of the field, and on the half-yard line they would holler, Chuck's calling timeout, Terry. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What you want? We're gonna run a play. You're gonna run a play? What play you gonna run? Well, I don't know. Just a second. Let me confer with Tom Moore and Dick Hoke up in the press box here. They've been watching the drive you just illustrated here, and we're going to get a play to score. Oh, so I go 99 yards, but I can't get us one more yard. And you got these geniuses up there that hadn't ever played quarterback, and they're going to get me to play. So I'd wait, and he'd put his hands on me. I hated that. So I'd wait. We got reporters in here writing this down. I got to be careful. I got in trouble doing this one time. So I waited and I waited. I said, Chuck, I'm sorry, but I got my play. I'm gone. Poosh. And then with a few words, he brought me back. Yes, sir. We've got to play. What is your play? Just a second. Obviously, you don't have a play. I got it. I'm going out on the field. Bye. And I ran my play. It was an illegal play. It was against the Cincinnati Bengals, and it was sprint right pick that won the game in overtime. Remember the play, Sam? Sam. Stan? Sam Noper, thank you very much. You deserve that insult. I won't forget Chuck. Grabbed me in New York, jerked my face. You go out there and throw one more interception. I'll bench your butt so quick you won't know. And you wonder why I act like I act. After we won our second Super Bowl in the third game, I had thrown for over 600 yards, and he came to me, play in Cleveland. If you don't play good today, I'm going to jerk you out of the game. Okie dokie. You had to understand him, which I never did. People, events, time, places. It's all part of it. Those guys go up there. I think about the people. We're in the Hall of Fame, men, because of people, not ourselves. It's people. Always will be, always have. It's a shame we can't enjoy it, isn't it? Doggone it, we got to share it with somebody. One time in my life, I said, God, I was great. Wasn't I something? You see me throw it, you see me catch it, you see me tackle, you see me block. But we can't, because we played a team sport. And there they are going up the line of scrimmage, and we're going to score. Let's look at that, John Cove. He was so insecure. I was always pumping him up. John, you're the best. You're the best. Don't worry about him. I'll handle him. Sam Davis. Sam never took a bath. Sam, you stink. Jerry Mullins. Never knew he played in a Super Bowl game. He's a California boy. Benny Cunningham. Brad. Hey, Brad, I'm open on every play. Every play, I'm wide open. Just shut up, Benny. I'll tell you when you're open, when you're not. But anytime you want to throw the ball, I'll be open. I got him deep, I got him short, I got him long. Anything, I got ATO short. All right, Benny, all right. Had a half black, half Italian fullback who used to tell me before the game, Brad, don't run me inside. You don't want to run in 6'3", 248 pounds from Penn State. You don't want to go inside? Why not? Because they hit you and it hurts. I had a halfback from Notre Dame, Rocky Blair, got shot in Vietnam, little bitty hole in his foot, ain't big as a pin. Took it to the limit, got all the Purple Hearts and Purple Roses and all those awards. Wrote a book, Fighting Back, hired Bob Urich, made millions of dollars. Strung this sucker out, makes $2 million a year on the lecture circuit, talking about Vietnam and how he overcame all his handicap problems. People. Had a sinner who took liver tablets. How many of you know what a liver tablet, which is the size of a horse pill, and when you take 3 of them on game day and need a pound of bacon, and a dozen scrambled eggs, pot of coffee, and you're nervous, what does a liver tablet do to a gastric system? And then he'll play a prank on you and hold it till a crucial situation. The announcer's 3rd and 15. Steelers got to convert on this 3rd down situation. They're behind to the Cleveland Browns with only 1:46 seconds left. Red 237. Red. Aren't we? Got a little cute kid named Lynn Swansea. Terry, I got the 25-yard come open late. It's wide open. I got the 18-yard come open late to the inside or to the outside. I got the ATO. I got the takeoff. Got the hook and go. I got the arrow takeoff. I got the curl, slide, curl, shake. I got the hook and go, hook and slide, hook, post, cue, option. I got the quick out, the short out, the deep out. I got the quick screen. I got the reverse. I got the reverse. I got the post in, option, post in, cue, option, post, cue, post in, post, cue, and I got the ATI. I got the TIA. I got every route known to mankind that's in our playbook. I got it. Today and the rest of my career and your lifetime, I'll be open on every pass play. Throw the ball to me. And then, as the little boy said, remember and collect, and remember, gather up all this you're experiencing, because it's not going to happen again. There's always people in our lives who know how to manage their words. And John Stallworth couldn't manage them. And I think it's because we both went to small schools, and like Mike Irwin said, people think that because we're successful in our profession, that because we went to a small school, we're too stupid to get into any big schools, which probably true, I don't know. But John and I had an affection for one another because we went to the little bitty tiny schools. And John would listen to Lynn, and to Bernie, and to Benny, and all these people wanting to run all these plays. And I was the manager. I'm a caretaker of all these guys. And then John Stallworth would measure his words correctly and precisely. And in the huddle, and this was all in the huddle, he'd just simply say, in his high-pitched Alabama voice, "Brad, I got this sucker deep over here." Downtown. Take a chance. Go after it. I won't forget any of them. They made the Steelers great. I won't forget Mean Joe Green, who used to spit on reporters, take helmets off the Cleveland Browns and beat them up like Samson and a jawbone of an ass. I won't forget Ernie Holmes, who cut an arrow in his head. Arrow pointing that way, and when the reporters got there to his bench, Ernie, why don't you cut the arrow in your head? It give me direction in my life. Okie dokie, that'll work. It's people. It's people. Always has been, always will be. That's what made us great. Capture it, folks. You're lucky human beings. All of us athletes have gone on and had to get into life's chosen work. We've had to get into things that make a living. You can't play football forever. But I'm going to tell you something. One thing you and I both share is a love and an affection for our jobs, for our livelihood. Football, baseball, basketball, track makes no difference. Wide receivers, Notre Dame, Louisiana Tech makes no difference. We had a love for it, a love, an affection you can't describe. And little Bird would say, capture it, and it makes tears come to your eyes when you realize that all your life you struggle and you strive to obtain a goal that seems so impossible. Then once you reach it, let your ambition carry you away with it. And that ambition was 4 Super Bowls. And then into the Hall of Fame. Oh, man. Go back. Think about that. All of you, how are we different? You can do what you're doing forever. You can run your little convenience stores till you go broke, till you get bought out, till you retire. You can be a welder. You can do all you want to do till you've had it. Me, man, after a few years, you're out of there. I wouldn't trade it for nothing. I wouldn't trade it for the Naval Academy. I wouldn't trade it for the PhD psych. I wouldn't trade it nothing. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change a thing. What I wouldn't give to put my hands on a Pete Rozelle football just one more time. But I'd want it in a Super Bowl. And I'd want it in a crucial situation. And just to go out and to experience it. Just experience that thrill just one more time. Getting down, looking at defense, checking for plays. Looking at the defensive tackles. Are they inside? Are they outside? Can we hook them? Should we double them? Can we hook the end? Just one more time, folks. Hear my name announced on that loudspeaker. Now at quarterback, Pittsburgh Steelers, number 12, out of Louisiana Tech, Terry Bradshaw. One more time. Playing a snow game. One more time. Just one more time to go out there and see Mr. Rooney on the sideline. Just one more time. God, you're lucky. You're lucky if you love what you're doing. You're lucky if you love what you're doing. And you're blessed if you know that you're in the right direction. I was. Yeah, I struggled. Yeah, I had a hard time with it. But it takes people. And when they got the talent around me, it works. It takes people. It takes dreams. It takes those dreams. I don't want to forget. I appreciate everything that I have. All I've got is memories. And they're precious memories. I got a little girl at home, 2 years old. I got another baby due in 6 weeks. I'm 40 years old. I'm doing something right. One of these days, she's going to come to me and she's going to say, Daddy, you know Billy Bob up at the school? But Daddy, he said you used to play in that there NFL football. Now, Daddy, you never told me that. And I'm going to grab my memory sheet, which is my highlight film, and it's about that big around. And I'm going to take her to my office, and I'm going to put it on. I'm going to say, there I am. Number 12, that's Franco Harris, Hall of Famer. Hey, that's old Rocky Block. Boy, he could promote. Look at that. That's Mean Joe Green. That's Lynn Swan. That's that touchdown pass in Super Bowl 10 against the Cowboys. And there's that touchdown pass against the Cowboys in Super Bowl 13. That's 2 of them there. Yeah, and there I am getting my neck broke right there in Cleveland. Oh, I hated Cleveland. Used to throw beer on my ambulance when I was going out. Them's terrible folks up there. It's all it is memories. Shoot for the stars. Love it. You got parents, I heard everybody thinking their dad tonight. You parents thinking your dad. Boy, wouldn't you love for him to be here where you could tell him? How many of you folks got your mom and dad alive and you hadn't called them, told them you love them? I ought to be ashamed. I ought to be ashamed. Call them up, tell them you love them. Well, don't get along. Mom and dad and I don't get along. Call them up, patch it up right now because they're going to be dead. Won't be long. Call them up, get involved. Tell them you love them. Tell them I'm sorry. It's my fault. Who cares? They're the only parents you got. How many of you give anything to have them back one time, 1 minute, just say, I love you. Get your kids, bring them in, stand them right there in front of you, sit them down, say, hi, how you doing? What's your middle name? I forgot your middle name. Oh, okay, Tracy. I just want to say hi to you, say how you doing, high school, got a boyfriend? That's good, too. I've been busy talking, been busy making a living. I've been real busy trying to make it happen. That's what we all do. We're all too busy. We need to stop and get involved with our kids. Participate with them, play sports with them. I'm proud to be a jock. And I'm proud to know that I love my parents and I love my child and I love my wife. We need to stop and get involved, folks. A little message. Stop, look around, and capture what you have. Thank you for your life. Thank God you're an American where you can be a bum or be a success. Be a Hall of Famer. Be anything you want to be. You've got the choice. It's up to you. For all you athletes out there, young man over here getting ready for the NBA draft, I'm with you all the way. Go get them. They play. Hey, Michael Jordan making $20 million a year. They'll just give you 10. Holler at me. I'll go in and help you get that kind of money. Thanks for having me, folks. I've enjoyed it.
Terry, you may have won 4 Super Bowl rings as a player, but you won a 5th Super Bowl ring here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, and what a way to end, that concludes the 3rd Blair County Sports Hall of Fame induction dinner. Congratulations to all our inductees this year. One personal note. Everybody up here, as an inductee, mentioned their parents. Terry certainly touched on it. I found that one of the continuing great moments of the 3 banquets that I have had the privilege of emceeing. It means a great deal to me, especially now. I lost my father a little less than 2 months ago. And it's one of the reasons I like to come back, because there's a strong sense of family. And I appreciate that being reinforced for myself personally. Congratulations to all the inductees. Great job by all the presenters. Terry, magnificent. Thank you for coming. We appreciate your support. We need you. Have a good evening.